Hello, welcome back to the Reimagining Ourselves podcast, where we spend time dreaming about what we could heal and what we could become. It's really snowy and stormy here, which is just providing such a great ambiance for us to have this conversation about the sacred versus unhealed feminine. If you've been following along with our discussion about masculine and feminine energy, you know by now that feminine energy is internally focused and receiving. But just like masculine energy, feminine energy has a shadow side that emerges in response to all of the disruptions present in Western society. As we talked about in episode 5, how hierarchy has disrupted the masculine-feminine balance, feminine energy has been devalued in our culture for quite some time, with disastrous results. Feminine energy is empathetic, nurturing, intuitive, emotionally available, and vulnerable. Unfortunately, the messages we receive from pop culture about this feminine energy have led many of us to try to repress it. From social ridicule to witch hunts, it's often been unpleasant, if not downright dangerous, to allow this energy to develop and flourish in its fullness. As a result, this powerful energy gets stunted in our bodies and manifests as less desirable traits. Let's talk about how to recognize unhealed feminine energy first. Unhealed feminine energy creates insecurity and a victim mentality. A person experiencing a lot of this unhealed feminine energy feels out of control and as if life is happening to them. The power of conscious co-creation of the world is missing. And this may be a key reason that feminine energy has been so targeted throughout history. It is pretty inconvenient for those holding power in the current world to have us imagining a different one. Similarly, unhealed feminine energy ignores intuition, sometimes to the point of no longer being able to recognize it. A quick example that you know lives rent-free in my brain is advertising. How would it affect advertisers for us to be in touch with our inner knowing and aware of what we actually need? How would they sell to us? They need us to be confused, scared, and dependent so they can tell us what we need. The wounded feminine is attention seeking. This, of course, comes from a desperate need for external validation, which outsources the development of self-esteem and confidence. It's a distortion of the natural state in which the beauty of the feminine draws attention and admiration, where the consumption of this attention becomes compulsive, where people begin feeding off of it and feeling like they need it to survive. This combines with unhealed masculine energy, which we talked about last episode, to create competition and comparison based on superficial traits. We have collectively created entire economies based on this attention via social media, which often facilitates and encourages that kind of attention-seeking behavior. The unhealed feminine is waiting to be saved and seeks others who will fill that role as savior. It's the energy that Sherry Mitchell is talking about when she says we need to end our childlike dependence, which is a hallmark of colonization. The wounded feminine has been stripped of the wisdom that would normally guide it, and as a result is desperately seeking external help and salvation. I see this as a learned helplessness response, where there is an unconscious belief in the inevitability of persecution, which leaves this role as victim as the only option. Learned helplessness is when pain or stress is perceived as inescapable, and as a result, we give up trying to escape it. The study that this comes from is horrible, and I am not going to discuss it. It is something I'm constantly trying to get out of my head, but I'll leave it along with my other citations in case you are interested. Suffice it to say that there is some good evidence that if we experience pain or violence repeatedly, we will stop trying to escape it, despite a change in circumstance. So if we believe that having someone else save us, whether that's a government institution or another individual, is our only hope for safety and security, we will quickly give away our agency and power. The feminine is so fluid and transformative that it lends itself to another common distortion, which is manipulative behavior. Look, manipulative is sort of a dirty word in the mental health world, and I feel a little icky even saying it. You can look at it as resourcefulness in getting your needs met, but however you look at it, we know it's largely damaging and unacceptable. So if we reconsider sacred feminine energy, the whole and intact form of this, we can remember that feminine energy dreams up new ideas and then breathes life into them by releasing them into the masculine pool of energy. So we can really imagine how this whispering into the ear of the masculine could become dangerously distorted when the feminine is hurt and not in touch with that place of intuition. It can quickly become nasty mind games, jealous or insecure reactions, or attempts to control others. This is a misguided way of trying to meet the individual's need for security and safety, and it creates turmoil, disconnection, and distance. Finally, another big sign of unhealed feminine energy is chronic emotional dysregulation. All of us experience the wide range of human emotions to varying degrees, and I'm going to be doing a whole episode on the factors that impact our emotional experience, so stay tuned for that. Emotions are informative, full-body experiences that can be very intense, and the way that we sometimes react to these experiences can indicate some wounded feminine energy. Feeling like our emotions are out of control, that we cannot tolerate them, or that we will not survive them are all signs of distorted feminine energy. And this can prompt dangerous behaviors that attempt to numb or get rid of these emotions. These experiences are important, and the sacred feminine allows us to feel the fullness of our emotions with grace and to channel that intense energy appropriately. The transition from unhealed feminine energy into sacred alignment is very powerful. The sacred feminine is self-assured, graceful, and quietly confident. It can sit back and allow others to be drawn into the intense power of its wisdom and intuition without any need for aggressive action. Just like with the masculine, we need to shift into the sacred version of this energy and then bring it back into balance with the sacred masculine. The sacred and healed feminine needs to be shared and valued now more than ever for the protection of all life. The sacred and healed feminine intuitively senses the power and value of the sacred and healed masculine, and it responds to unhealed energies with compassion and understanding. So like with the masculine, we must shift our expectations of the feminine to this healed and powerful version so we can encourage its development in our culture. Thank you for being here. You might notice that Caleb is ready for me to be done, so I'm gonna go move into that role of mothering and see him. If you enjoyed this conversation, please give the video a thumbs up so I know what kind of content you're interested in. Hit the subscribe button to stick around, and leave me a comment letting me know your thoughts on this and any other examples of healed or unhealed feminine energy that you can think of. Welcome to the good side of the internet, and I'll see you here next time on Reimagining Ourselves. The Reimagining Ourselves podcast is a passion project of mine, And 100% of the proceeds from this podcast are put directly into the hands of people working for environmental restoration, indigenous reclamation, and urban gardening. Thank you for being here.